Cloak and Daggers Theater and the Penn's Landing Playhouse proudly presents There's Nothing Like a Dame, Edna, starring Scott Mason, the Dame's honorary understudy. In the event of an emergency, please make note of the exits to the front and the rear of the theater. Please no recording, photography, or videography during this performance. Now sit back, possums, do relax, take inventory of all your valuables, and welcome Dame Edna.
There is nothing like a day, nothing in the world.
Hello, possums! Hello!
That is
Oh, much better. Oh, goodness me, don't I look scrumptious, possums? Oh, thank you for that affirmation. Yes, this is the first time that I've ever performed inside of a museum and not been one of the old exhibits. I'm not sure I'll ever be back at Penn's Landing again. But here I am with all of you today. It's so good that you, especially with this beautiful weather you're having today, and you decided to give it up and spend a little time with the dame in a darkened theater. Do you regret buying a ticket now? You're thinking, I could be out, doing something spectacular. So can I, well, not quite yet. I was going to ask for some house lights, but some people are still, well, yes, we can still have house lights. Tony's in the booth. He's my assistant there doing all the sound and lights. Tony, can I have some lights? I'd like to see who I'm performing for. Oh, good Lord. It's a little scary. See, possums, you're already setting the tone for the show because I don't think of this show as a show any more than you do. I'd like to think of it as a monologue interrupted by total strangers, such as yourself. Because I'm going to do a monologue and you're going to interrupt me, and that's lovely. You see, because I like to do special things with my show, I like to be special. You could pay lots of money to go to the Wachovia Center, that big place, and, pay lots of money to see the likes of, I don't know, Barbra Streisand, I think, was there, and I think Lady Gaga's coming, and perhaps Stevie Wonder, Madonna. And, when you're at the Wachovia Center and you're seeing those people there in the dark, you're sitting, you can see them, but they can't see you, possums. Well, especially not in Stevie Wonder's case. Just saying. But see, I can see you, and what I see, well, I see you all got dressed for an occasion. Not this occasion, mind you. More like cleaning out the garage occasion as I think what's in order. I don't know. You look lovely, though. You wore purple. You wore purple? Is that in honor of me? Well, that was quick. You don't lie very well, but you... And I don't know how to describe what you're wearing. What's the word that comes to mind, love? Affordable. I just kid. You didn't hear me? I said affordable. I wasn't talking to you, though. See, you got all upset. You thought I was talking about you. No. You actually look like you just came. I love to compare people's modes of dress to famous films. And have you seen the movie Breakfast at Tiffany's? See, with all that bling you've got going on, you look like you just walked out of Breakfast at Tiffany's. You look scrumptious. And you, with your scarves going and everything, very flowy. Have you seen the film Grand Hotel? But you've heard of it with Fred Astaire and all these top people, and everybody looks scrumptious, and you look like you just stepped out of Grand Hotel. For the rest of you, well, I don't know. It looks like perhaps what comes to mind is the film Good Will Hunting. Because you all look like you've been hunting at the Goodwill, so... I just kid, possum. At least you've got clothes on. It's not a nudist camp. I did perform at a nudist camp. Did you know that? This is the truth. I never lie on my show. I performed at an all-male nude camp. Only men. And they were nude sitting in the audience. It was the first time, Possums, I really didn't want a standing ovation. It's a little delayed reaction. Is it too early? Have you not had enough of... You not have enough... You need a drink. Well, you know, you need a little coffee, perhaps a little energy drink. But you're all right. So what, you know, you're so fun here in the front row. And, of course, on the Dame Show, people get picked on. Not too badly. All in love. So what's your name, love? Cass. How do you spell that? Kass. Well, that's about my second favorite spelling of that name. Well, I know, but I don't like yours. I like the other one. I'm just kidding. Is it? I know you'll get over it. You won't go home and slit your wrist. And who's your friend? Kathy and Cass. Well, I'll remember you two. And is that with a K, Kathy, or a C? A K. All right, the Ks are here today. We'll just call you K1 and K2. Is that all right? K2 is a famous mountain. I'm not saying you look like a mountain, because you don't. You're very, you know, slim. You're welcome. I'll take the focus off you now. So what are your two... What is the story of these two men? What's your names? Lou. All right. Is that short for Louis? And now how do you spell Lou? Louis. Isn't that Louis? But you just said your name was Lou. How do you spell Lou? Lou. You could just do Lu, you know, and save yourself from time, you know, signing checks and all that. Yeah, you look like a wealthy person. Are you a wealthy person? Well, you look like it in the face, but not the mode of dress for sure. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, you look like Santa without his cap. You got the, you know, like you just shaved for the spring season, you know, before winter comes. Yes. And what's your name, sir? Harry? Is that short for something? It's Henry Harry. Your parents, and does your last name start with an H too? With an M. So your parents like alliteration. Harry, Henry, Henry, Harry. Which one? Harry, Henry. They're like Harry, I don't know, what else has an H and a Y in it? Let's keep this simple. Henry, you know, it's because women are in pain after they've popped you out, and they have to think fast. They have to think fast and a lot of drugs, so... Hence why we have Harry Henry. And what's your name, love, there in the lovely leather coat? Carrie. Is that what, a K? Oh, Terry. I'm sorry. It's a little hard of hearing. Terry with a T. And is it an I or a Y at the end? Oh, Y. Of course it is. Lovely. Should be an I, but that's all right. I'll forgive you. You know, Americans, you came over from England and Australia, and no one knows how to spell. I mean, that's just what happens in America. It's all right. It's like, you know, you pronounce everything different over here. You know, the word herb, it has an H in it. It's called a herb. You call it an herb, right? When you cook, what do you use? Herbs. But it's spelled with an H. In Europe and Australia, we say herb because it has an H. I mean, when you say, you know, Harry, you don't say Harry. Wouldn't that be awful? You'd be Harry Henry. So, Terry, where are you from? Salem, that's in Pennsylvania? 10 miles, what a hike. It took you an hour and a half to get here, didn't it? 10 minutes, you must have good Waze, because I've been here for a month, and, you know, Waze or any of those little satellite things, they tell me something's about 10 miles away, but I have to get on this 76 thing, and then it takes an hour and a half to go 10 miles. It's awful. It's awful. It's like, it reminds me when I'm in L.A. It's just crazy, just crazy. And what is your name? You look so happy. Fran, yes. Bruce. He wasn't asleep. He thought you were going to talk for him. There's no Wachovia Center? Well, that tells you how long it's been since I've been in Philadelphia. Doesn't that thing change its name every 5 months or so? You have no idea where you're going. Where are we going tonight? I don't know. It was the Wells Fargo Center. Before that, it was the Wachovia. Wasn't it the Spectrum at one point? Oh, that's a different building. It was the Core State Center. Well, what do you think it'll be next? It was the what? Okay, let's spend another hour just naming all the names that freaking place has been. I love it. I don't have to say a thing. You all just argue about what the name was. Do you know it in chronological order? That would be lovely. Well, I'll make sure that tonight when I do that little bit about Stevie Wonder, I'll make sure I say it's the Wells Fargo Center. God forbid. That's all you got to remember. You're going to go home and say the dame doesn't know the Wells Fargo Center from a rat's ass. I mean, that's what you're going to say. No, but like I said, I've been here for a while. How many of you, because all my prior audiences, I swear to God, everybody seemed to come from Delaware and New Jersey and not Philadelphia. And here I am in Philadelphia, and no one from Philadelphia was coming. I thought perhaps you were all on strike because of your new... No, I did, because of your new president. I mean, you knew what he did, right? A few weeks ago before I started. His first international relations call. Did you know who that was to? My prime minister, the prime minister of Australia, your president, talked to him on the phone. Do you know what he did? He hung up on him, exactly. I thought the first weekend when there were so few Philadelphians, I thought, I guess they're all Trump supporters. And, because my prime minister angered your president, you're like, shit, I'm not going to go see Dame Edna. Screw her, that Australian bitch. Her prime minister hangs up on our president. Now, I won't talk too much about your president because, but it is... What? Well, there is that. Well, I did find it fascinating. Like I said, I've been here for a month or so, I get bored in my little condo they rented for me, and I watched your big pastime, that thing you call excuse for football, unlike European football. You had your, the Super Bowl, didn't you? The Super Bowl. I loved it. My favorite part, of course, was Lady Gaga. They were going to try to fly me in for today's show. Right from up there, from the rafters, I was going to come, floating down. But I didn't trust the cables because I'm not as petite as Lady Gaga. And, well, I wouldn't want to bloody the front row, Especially when you get all dressed up for the show. I didn't want to ruin your best clothing. So, yes, I didn't fly in like Lady Gaga, but the football game was interesting because I don't know quite a lot about football, but they were saying at halftime that, I like to call it intermission, you call it halftime. They were saying that the Patriots were losing, right? Anyone who watched the game? So you all know what I'm talking about? All right, enough of you. The Patriots were losing pretty badly, I think. And all the little sportmen, commentators, they were saying, there's no way the Patriots are going to win. There's no way the Patriots are going to win. Nobody in the history of Super Bowl has ever come back from this kind of deficit. No way the Patriots are going to win. And what happened? Well, you say the same thing back in November. You're all wrong. It just the tide keeps changing. Back in November, there's no way he's going to win this. What? What? Wow! Did you hear what she said? The Falcons won the popular vote. Well, it didn't save the Falcons, and it's not going to save your country, Possums. That's all I have to tell you. No, you're all screwed. It gives, I've got 4 years of material coming. That's the way I look at it. Anytime could be 8. Well, so this is what I'm saying. If any of you are gamblers in the audience, you do some serious gambling, things come in threes, bad things. So, he won shockingly, then the Patriots won shockingly. The next underdog, the next big contest that comes America's way, vote for the underdog. Bet on the underdog because, again, third time's a charm. Something you think is not going to win is going to win. That's what I'm telling you. I did go to New York while I was here, because it's so close by. I did see one of the changes that's happened right away. I saw the new Statue of Liberty sign that says, give us your poor and you're tired and you're hungry unless you're from the following countries. And it was fresh paint. It was dripping. It was a long list, So, Mike, Australia, not yet, but I'm sure it will be added shortly. I think Canada just got added. I was going to go to Mexico on my next stop, but I can't get across the border. I have to go back to Australia and go by way of Australia. But I've enjoyed sort of what I've seen of Philadelphia. I've not seen much. I enjoyed the fact that you've got this, Penn's Landing. Here we are, Penn's Landing. How original is that for a name? You Americans are so original with your names. What should we call this place? Well, I don't know. Penn landed here. Penn's Landing sounds wonderful. Thank God his name wasn't Engelbert Humperdinck. Can you imagine? Humperdinck's Landing in Humperdinck, Sylvania. I mean, because everything is Penn, isn't it? And yet the man is standing on top of City Hall peeing all over your city. I was shocked. I was driving, and I saw this statue, and here he was, this little wee willy winky out and peeing all over town. Have you seen this? Is it what? Well, it was on an angle. It looked just like this. I saw the statue, and it looked just like this. And I thought, why is he urinating all over the city that he found?
He's holding the deed to the city.
He's holding the what?
The deed to Philadelphia.
The deed? That's the limpest deed I've ever seen in my life. It's paper? Yeah, but back in that day, paper was like rock solid parchment. It didn't, it crinkled, it was stiff. This thing was not stiff. I've seen stiff things. This was not stiff. This was very, look. No, but I did get corrected. The first night, people told me that, yes, it was the deed, it was a scroll. But seriously, if you try this, if you've lived here all your lives and you haven't seen it, do you know what angle from what street, sir? East, this guy says, yeah. And so that's the angle. If you look at that angle, then it does look like I speak, right? Yes. So, yeah. Well, now, see, you've learned something. How long have you lived in Philadelphia? All your lives, and you never noticed that. You've been up there to see him personally. Have you met his scroll? I wonder, can you get up there close enough in the observation tower to feel? Can you read the scroll? Can you see the? No, it's just now you've learned something. You've gotten your money's worth. You can leave now, and you can go see. You could go see the scroll. You can go see the angle. I was in a little place. It was fascinating. It was very colorful. I was in a place called the Gayborhood. Anyone hear of that? The Gayborhood. Well, you've not heard of it. It's called are you from Philadelphia? Well, see, this is the problem. I'll get to Jersey and you'll have to ask it. Well, the Gayborhood, just think about how it sounds. It's not filled with Chinese people. Well, there could be some, but it's not Chinatown. It's the Gayborhood. So it's very LGBT friendly, and there's rainbows all over the place. There's an actual intersection that's all rainbows. I crossed that thing. I kept going back and forth, humming somewhere over the rainbow. I just thought it was so much fun. I might find the scarecrow on a corner or something scarier. But on this particular day when I was in the Gayborhood, I was shocked because people were coming out of shops and restaurants and they were screaming, Phil came out, Phil came out, Phil came out. And I said, who in the hell is this Phil guy that his coming out process is such national news on the corner? And they said, Phil came out. Oh, good. Phil came out. And I said, who in the hell is this Phil guy? I mean, is Philadelphia named after this Phil because he's so popular? They said, no, Dave, no. Phil is not a person. I said, what is Phil? Exactly. They said, it's a groundhog. And I said, so this groundhog came out and it's all this media alert, social media for this freaking groundhog. And they said, well, he's from a special place. I can't even, where's he from? It sounds like a venereal disease. I'm afraid I can't say that word. I'm afraid I'm going to mispronounce it. So apparently this rodent comes out of the ground once a year in this little venereal disease town. And as I understood this holiday you all have, it's actually on your calendar apparently. Yeah, you're all proud of it. That apparently, this little twit comes out once a year, and if he sees his shadow, then you have 6 more weeks of winter, right? And if he doesn't, then it's going to be in early spring. And here's what I'm thinking, to go back a few moments of thought. You believe that this 4-legged rodent can come out of a hole once a year and predict your weather, but you can't believe Donald Trump won your election. What? Well, but you'll believe the groundhog. That's because Americans are obsessed with weather prediction. That is an oxymoron, possums. You cannot predict the weather. It's got a mind of its own. And in Australia and Europe and Asia, we wake up and we look out the window, and then we know if it's raining or if it's snowing, and we figure out what to wear. But apparently you have to do it 3 hours the night before you go to bed. You've got to figure out what the heck is happening the next day with the weather. I know, because I was here the week leading up to my show. I'll get to that in a second. But you've got these special name people. You got that little Hitler guy. What's his name? Hurricane something or other. He's like the Nazi of the weather. He's got hurricane in his name. I mean, what is that? I mean, is it like Tropical Storm Sally and all these other newscasters come out? Right, and they try to predict the weather. And you all study this, like you said, hour by hour. The week leading up to my show, we were trying to do tech on Thursday, but they weren't sure we could have it because apparently Armageddon from hell was coming. It was this, I think it was called what's it called? A nor'easter. I mean, what? And it had a name. What the hell is that? It's not just weather, you got to name it. Do anyone know the name of it? No, don't have to go. I'll tell you, I studied it well because I thought they're naming storms in the United States. Nico. I thought, when the heck was there a snowstorm from South America? But anyway, so Nico, they said, oh, there's going to be schools. The school started closing the day before at 2 in the afternoon. Like, oh my God, it's going to snow. You better get home. You better get home. And churches closing and temples and events. They almost canceled my tech rehearsal because, God forbid, there was going to be 3 feet of snow or something. And they said, Dame, you better go out to the store. You better go out to the little market at the base of the condo and better get supplies. The supplies. Yes, exactly. You humans, Americans, you're all trained. She just said milk and bread. I swear to God, I went down to the mart. There wasn't a stitch of milk. Even the dry powdered milk was gone. Somebody was going to have milk and mix it with water. I mean, every set of eggs, orange juice, bread, and milk was gone. So I'm thinking, do you only eat breakfast when you're housebound? There was plenty of other stuff, but not breakfast food. So it's almost like you just stay indoors and eat breakfast 24/7 when the snow comes. So, what? It's over after breakfast. And look, honey, it didn't even start. I mean, I woke up at about 10 in the morning and I looked out the window and it was like William Penn after he stops peeing put his dandruff all over the city. It was just a few flakes everywhere. That was it. That's good. Did you hear what she said? They wouldn't let Nico in because it was an immigrant. I'll have to keep you around and you write some material for me. I'm gonna say that tonight. Nico couldn't come because it was an immigrant. It was an immigrant snowstorm. That's actually quite good. Can I steal it? What's your name? Eloise. Eloise, that's a pretty name. You don't hear that name, Eloise, anymore. I mean, you hear it all the time, but you hear it all the time, but most people don't hear it. Why don't we hear it, Eloise? It's kind of silly. No, somebody just said it's classy. Yes, have more self-confidence. Go to a camp, Look in the mirror and tell yourself you're a good person and that Eloise is not a silly name. You've lived with this trauma all your life, haven't you? And you're not like me. I'm approaching your speed limit of 65, but from the opposite direction. So you don't look a day over 40, but for 40 years you've carried this burden with your name. You're 65. You, like me, are at the speed limit. You don't look 65. Well, thank you. I used to look hotter than this, possums. I used to look hotter than this, but I don't think I'll be hot again until I'm cremated. That's the next time I'll be hot. But I thank you. I thank you. I look better than I did a little while ago. I was on a diet. I was on a diet for 2 weeks. You know what I lost? 2 weeks, right? Not doing that ever again. It was dull. It was a boring waste of 2 weeks. So yes, Philadelphia is lovely. I saw the Liberty Bell. I just throw that thing away. It's cracked. It doesn't work. Taking up space, surrounded by plastic. You can't even hit it. Can't even ding it. I mean, what the heck is with that? Nobody can read the Braille. Touch it, feel it. Well, it looks like Braille. It's little raised letters. It's for the blind people that want to hear the bell. Oh, wait, they can hear the bell. They just can't see it. What's ringing? I don't know. It's cracked. Anyway, speaking of cracked, did we take the house lights down? Good, Tony. Thank you. I've seen enough of these people. So I just kid, Possums. I just kid. But it is time for me to have a drink. Somebody mentioned a drink, so I think I shall have one. I'll put this down. I actually don't need it, but I hope you can hear me. Can you all hear me? Just checking. All right, so who likes a dry martini? Anyone? Your hand went right up. I thought you were going to leap on the stage. So no, don't. There might be a lawsuit, because there are abundance of those in the United States. I'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, so who, show of hands, because I can't see faces now because it's so dark, but I can see hands go up. Who likes a martini? All right, a few of you. What is the base you use in your martini? Gin. Yeah, a lot of people, they wuss out and they do vodka, but I used to do vodka, but I found this lovely gin that had a lovely name, Beefeater, and I don't know, it resonated with me. So, just saying. So yes, Beefeater and gin, and then of course, what do you add? Tonic. That's not a martini. That's a gin and tonic. Get your name straight, Possum. That's a gin and tonic. That's all right. So what do you put vermouth? You can. Right, dry vermouth in it. Right, some people add fruits and vegetables. What a waste of space, takes up more room. Now, I like to make very dry martinis, but my agent gets very upset with me. My agent suggested I stop drinking during shows. They said it made my image look bad. And my agent said, Dame, I'm beginning to think you're an alcoholic. I'm beginning to think that you have a drinking problem. And I said, no, I don't have a drinking problem. I do it quite well. And I'm not an alcoholic because they have to go to meetings and I don't. Right, see, you just said it's a good way to look at it, right? You're going to go use that tonight when you get shit-faced drunk at home. No, but first you have to add the ice, Possums. I was reading when I was snowbound. When I was snowbound for all of 20 minutes in the condo, I was reading this little paper, USA Today. It's so full of facts, isn't it? It's all about your USA Today. They even have the weather in that. So this article said that ice and whiskey is bad for your kidneys, that ice and vodka is bad for your liver, and ice and gin is bad for your heart. Screw it. Ice is bad. We'll just go straight to the gin. I thought about it, and I'm not a sexaholic. No, I'm not an alcoholic. See, I haven't even started drinking yet. And I said to my agent, I'm actually a sexaholic that likes Beefeater, Jim's Daniel, Jack's Daniel, Juan's Cuervoses, Captain's Organ, and once in a while an old granddad. And now for the vermouth. That's how you make a dry martini, Possums. Ooh. So, how many of you celebrated Valentine's Day? That was just, a few days ago, right? Anyone celebrate Valentine's Day? How many couples? Give me the house lights again, Tony. I want to see if there's any happy couples or just cheap bastard husbands in the... So you celebrated Valentine's Day? How long? Are you married? 3.5 months. That's why you're so close. You're still sitting next to each other. This is true. It's an observation I've had. Most of the couples that have said they've been married for about 30 years or so, they're not touching each other. Sometimes they've been a seat apart from one another. And I've asked them, I said, do you have separate bedrooms? Yes, because he snores, she snores. It's remarkable. I can tell the new couples because there's a lot of PDA, public display of affection. But with the older couples, not so much. You all look miserable sometimes. So congratulations, 3.5 months. So what did he do for your Valentine's Day? Oh, how lovely. I'm sorry you were ill. I was ill on Valentine's Day too because I didn't have any dates, so I just ate thousands of boxes of chocolate to make myself feel better. And then I was sick, but that was lovely. He took you to dinner. Was it a fancy restaurant? Yes. McDonald's? No. I'm sure it was a step up from McDonald's. There's really anywhere to go but up from McDonald's, isn't there? Maybe Burger King. That's a little nicer. So yes, Valentine's Day came. I was alone. Well, let me just ask a few other people. How many other married couples in the audience? Here? Did you do something sweet for Valentine's Day? He was away. Well, the other woman got lots of stuff. I'm sure he made it up to you. And somebody over here? Yes, Fran and Bruce. How long you been married? 40 years. You said that with such a... Well, I'm glad to see you clapping because originally it was sort of a drone kind of tone to it. It's like 40 years. 40 years. Well, God bless you. And what did you do special for Valentine's Day? You babysat the grandchildren so that your children could have a Valentine's Day. Wasn't that precious? How many grandchildren do you have? 4. Do I want to see pictures? Listen, I don't have all day, Parson. I don't have all day. I'm sure the grandchildren are lovely. I mean, if you look at the grandparents, you can just tell I'm sure they're lovely to look at. So I was alone because I don't have a man in my life. I don't even have a woman in my life. I was married once. Did you all know that? You can take the house lights down, Tony. Once again, I've seen enough of them. I was married back, when I was much younger. I was married to my husband, Norm Everidge, hence my last name, Dame Edna Everidge. And Norm passed away in 1987 of a very rare disease. I don't know if you've heard of it. Men, I'm going to give you some information. Ladies, you can listen for it. Because Norm died of a very rare disease called the prostate murmur. Have you heard of this? With the prostate murmur, it's very serious. It starts out with the prostate making a very small whisper. You can barely hear it, unless you're close enough, which I never got. So it starts out as a small whisper, but the longer the disease progresses, the louder the murmur becomes. And it got to the point that in the middle of the night, the neighbors would be calling me up at all hours. They'd say, Dame Edna, can your husband keep his prostate down? And I'd say, well, there's no volume control on it. There's a knob, but I'm not touching it. And so it got to be so bad. So if any of your prostates start whispering, men in the room, get it checked out right away before it advances to the stage 4 prostate murmur. Because then we had to put Norm in a nursing home. And nursing homes, they can be quite depressing, can't they? I don't want to be stuck in one. Just push me off the Ben Franklin. That's what I think. Don't push me into a nursing home, just push me off the cliff or something. And, but he was in the nursing home, and I'd like to go visit. And they tried to entertain people there. And they'd have this big lounge entertainment area, and they'd bring in all the people in the nursing home, Norm included, and they'd entertain these people. And I offered to do a free show, but they said it was a conflict of interest because Norm was there. So I said, all right. So I went and watched this one particular show, and it was a hypnotist. And he started out, he had this gold pocket watch, and he was swinging it back and forth, swinging it back and forth. And he was saying to the audience, you're getting very tired, you're getting very sleepy, which I thought, well, he's not working very hard because about 3/4 of them were asleep when they got here. So, but for the quarter that was still awake, he was swinging it back and forth, swinging it back and forth, and he said, you're getting tired, you're getting sleepy, you're getting tired. And when I tell you, when you close your eyes, I want to tell you what to do, and you'll do it, you'll follow my words. And he was swinging this thing back and forth fiercely, and he lost control. It flew out of his hand, it smashed against the wall, fell to pieces, and he yelled out, oh, crap! Took 3 days to clean out that nursing home, Possum. You liked that one, didn't you? Didn't you, Cass? You're going to go tell that one tonight, aren't you? If you can remember it after you leave, you will. Well, write it down. Put it in your iPhone or something. I don't mind. You can write it out while I'm talking. You won't be a distraction. Not any more than you are already. So, I just kid. So then, after Norm finally passed away, I did meet another man. His name was Biscuit. Well, that was my nickname for him, Biscuit. Which, do you know what that is in Europe and Australia? It's a cookie. Yes, very good. We don't call it a cookie. We call it a biscuit. I actually wish he was more like your sea biscuit, but he wasn't. And, he'd be up all night online ordering that Viagra from Canada or something, He would have so much Viagra, he was up all night like a 7-Eleven. I just wish that he was somewhere between a 7 and 11. But he was more like a Wawa, because I kept finding myself going, wah, where is it? So it was actually Valentine's Day a few years ago that our little relationship came to an end. We were not married, thank God. And he took me out for dinner, like yours truly over there. Took me out for dinner, and we went, I think, to see a film. And then we went back to my flat, that's an apartment and in Australia. And I was in the bathroom. And he was in such a hurry. He was a little energetic old man. And he was already in bed. And I could tell underneath the sheets, I could tell he had taken his Viagra because there was like a little pop tent waiting for me. And I mean, it was a little pop tent. It was like a pop tent for a chihuahua, not a little like Paris Hilton doll, like it was a little bump in the night. And he was there in the sheets, and I have a big full-length mirror at the base of my bed, foot of my bed, and I can look over my shoulder and I can see that Biscuit behind me. So I started disrobing, and I just got depressed, Possums. I got depressed. I got like you thinking about your name for 40 years. I got emotionally depressed because I took off my bra, and I know I'm not very gifted, but what I do have headed south for the winter, I took my little bra off, and boom, down they went. And I said, Biscuit, I can see that at my age, my bosom is sagging, and it's not firm and plump anymore. It's all saggy and ugly. I can see that, Biscuit. And then I took off my girdle because I do wear one. It's a very old-fashioned undergarment, but I wore one to keep me all intact. And I took it off, and it was like, boom! It just, all the fat, my love handles just exploded out. And I was so embarrassed, and I said, Biscuit, I can see that I've gotten so fat and overweight, and I'm flabby. I can see this, Biscuit, and it depresses me. And then I took off my stockings, and I wear these solid colors so you can't see my awful legs, because I rolled down my stockings, and it looked like a map of the Jersey Turnpike. It was, blue veins and all these blue dots sticking out, and there was exit 3, and here's exit 7, and, it looked horrible, and I said, Biscuit, I can see that I have these awful varicose veins, and I can see how atrocious I look. Please, Biscuit, here on Valentine's night, if you love me, please, 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 for my own sanity, please tell me something that is still good about me. And he thought about it for just a second, and he looked at me and he said, well, Dame, your eyesight is still intact. So I shot him. And then he was in a coma. He came out of the coma, and he wasn't doing very well. And he was having trouble sleeping. I don't know if anyone suffers from this. Have you heard of this thing? Because you make up all kinds of syndromes in America. Have you heard of this thing called sleep apnea? Yeah, apparently you stop breathing for a bit. So he had to go for a sleep apnea test, and they let me stay with him. And I found out after the next morning, Possums, as they had him strapped to all these cables, he actually stopped breathing 63 times. 63 times in the night. Of course, 57 of those was when I had my pillow over his head because he snores like a crazy person. So I don't think he was that sick. I don't. So anyway, Possums, I'm sorry I can't share a drink with you, but I can share this with you, that you can buy beverages at intermission in case you're parched watching me drink. You can buy snacks, and believe it or not, you can take me home with you. See, this way you'll remember the joke. But I don't know which movie it's on. See, there's all these DVDs of my tour out in the lobby that you can buy, but I don't know which one I told that joke in. So you have to buy all 11 of them. They're only $10 a piece. You'll be all right. Hours of entertainment. So I told you about being on the other side of the speed limit. And of course you're worried that you look great for 65, don't you? You look fabulous. But all of you Americans are obsessed with mortality. You all want to live forever, don't you? Right? That's why you have all these pharmaceutical things I'll get to in the next act or so. But yes, you all are obsessed with staying young and not dying. I have news for you, Possums. You can't put a cork in your ass and age like fine wine. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. One day you will die. And by the looks of you, some of you are already started. So, I just kid. So, but it's a miracle you're all sitting here, because most of you look over the age, not all of you, a few, but most of the audience, you look to be maybe a little over 35, perhaps a little over 40, perhaps a little over 50. It's a wonder you're all sitting here, because you all don't have all the protective gear that in place when you were growing up that the children now have, like your grandchildren. Do you remember when we were young and we had monkey bars to play on? And we'd act the fool on the monkey bars and we'd fell off, and what did we land on? Black tar, right, black tar cement, and we'd go home with these pebbles all up in our knee, right? And what did our parents do? They took out the bottle of hydrogen peroxide and they poured it all over our knee. And we watched it foam up like Mount Olympus. And, it burned, remember? And what did we? We learned a valuable life lesson. Never act like an idiot on the monkey bars again, right? Not now. Your grandchildren have these plastic balls and rubber chips. They learn nothing. Remember the metal slide in the playground? Remember the metal slide when it was August and 96 degrees outside and the sun was shining? Remember that? Yes. And you'd be on your little shorts, your little, like Daisy Duke shorts, and get up there on that slide all excited to come down. And you'd come down, but your skin was still up at the top. And you learned a valuable life lesson. You learned that a hot sun on a sheet of metal gets really, really hot, the metal does. Not today. Children have plastic slides, so they're all right. They don't learn any science. Remember when we were in school and they'd have, before the internet and computers, we would get those tests to take in class? Do you remember that they'd run off on that old Ditto Master thing, that bluish purple paper? Remember, bring back memories, doesn't it? Yes, and we'd get it on our desk and we'd go, right? Instant high, and it was legal. It was legal. It was great. Yes, you're all having a pleasant memory. You didn't have to pass laws to legalize that crap. You could just sniff the hell out of that paper all day long. You're like, 1 + 2 is 3. Yellow and blue is green. 4 + 5, 8. We all failed because we were as high as a kite. But the best thing that we survived, I think, two more things. One of the fun things we survived that you don't see anymore in the playground, sad, because they were fun. Remember the giant ducks, the giant rabbits that were on these giant springs that were rusted out beyond belief because there was no lawsuits back then? So, you'd go on those things, remember? And you go flying over the top of the rabbit's ears and land on your head. It was fun. We ate dirt back then. Remember, we drank out of the garden hose, and we're still here. Now your grandchildren can't do anything. They're going to die. They're going to die of like gluten disease or peanut butter because now you're all allergic to everything because you didn't have a rabbit on a spring in the playground. That's what's happened. It's true, right? It is true. We're all still sitting here. Well, that's why the other empty seats, they didn't survive. They flipped off the duck and they're gone. Survival of the fittest, Boston, survival of the fittest. But it's a wonder we also made it out of the car because now you have all kinds of laws, don't you? Your grandchildren, how old are they? The age range? 6, 8, 2, and 1. So they're all still in car seats. Now you have laws to keep children in car seats till they're 19 practically. And then you've got the torture that they can't even face the way they're going. You know, they're like, where have we gone? I mean, you mess with these children's minds. They're lost because they can't face forward. And seriously, they're strapped in for life. We weren't, and we're still here, right? Except for the empty row 2. Row 2 all met a tragic accident on 76, which was a shock because the cars aren't moving on 76. They're just standing still. So, yes, so we had those, our parents had those big cars. Remember before compact little crap things came along? Right? They were like the battleship sitting out here on the river. They were huge. And what could we do? We could sleep on the back seat, right? Remember those days? We could actually rest. We weren't strapped in watching our parents drive like maniacs down the road, you know? We could sleep on the back seat. And then what would happen? Our parents would slam on the brakes and boom, off we would go onto the floor. Remember those days? Yes. And we survived. And what did we learn? We learned we are never going to slam on the brakes like our idiotic parents. We were great drivers. We were great drivers because we learned from our parents. Not now. You're strapped to a seat watching all this chaos, your eyes closed. You don't want to know anything. And it's a miracle we could ride bikes back then and still live to talk about it. Because now they've got what? You've seen these things. You bought them for Christmas or Hanukkah, whatever. You've got elbow pads, knee pads, shin pads, helmet, jaw guard, teeth guard. I mean, people are riding, little children are riding bicycles. They look like stormtroopers from Star Wars. So it's a wonder you survived. And it's a wonder you survived this first act. You've been great. I need to take a little break, get a little refresh, get a little change of ensemble perhaps. And I'll see you after intermission, possums.
There is nothing like a day, nothing in the world.
Hello again, possums. Hello again.
That is anything like a day.
So what do you think of my new ensemble? Thank you, thank you. Yes, I went shopping. I heard about this little state called Delaware to the south of here where I was here for the month. And I love Delaware because it has initials, D-E. Dame Edna, yes, you're still awake. I just got to check. Everyone got that D-E, Delaware, Dame Edna. So I felt very welcomed in that state, little tiny state. And but yes, there's tax-free shopping. So I wandered down to this place. Perhaps you've heard it. I think everyone's actually heard of Delaware for tax-free shopping. I went to this place called the Christiana Mall. And got an applause back there, yes? You go there frequently? Oh, you live right by. Well, you probably saw what I saw, that apparently nobody from the state of Delaware goes to this mall. The license plates were all from New York and New Jersey, and there was one from Illinois, I think. It's crazy. It's like an international center. Trump will shut that mall down soon. But I went to Macy's, where you can't use any of the coupons they give you. Right, it's true. I've been here for a month. I've gotten about 18 different circulars from Macy's with about 64 different 20% off coupons, and I go to use them, they say you can't use it. What the? You can only use it, I don't know what, toilet paper. I know they don't sell it. You are the interrupter of the day. It's all right, Cass, it's all right. I'll find ways to pick on you later. So I went to Macy's and I found this dress, lovely dress, in a section called plus size petites. Right, you know it? Plus size petites. They're trying to make us big women feel better. It's better than saying plus size Titanic. And what do you think of my new hair color? It's not new from the axe. New color from my prior tours. Do you like my new color? Yes, it's called raspberry sherbet. It's the color that says lick me, possums, lick me. Because I don't get much action anymore. In fact, I haven't performed an act of immodesty in decades. It's like the Sahara Desert. So I'm not going there. You're not going there either. It's closed. That road is closed like most of the roads in Philadelphia. No, I don't. I do a lot of driving around, but I also do a lot of cruise ships. Has anyone been on a cruise in this crowd? Lovely, lovely. And where have you cruised? Just shout out different places. Bermuda, yes, the Triangle. No wonder you're still here. And where else? Other places? The Caribbean, yes, not too far from Bermuda. All those islands, they all look the same. You get off of those ports and they all look the same. Souvenir T-shirts and jewelry. Yeah. Where else? Any other places? I'm sorry? Alaska, yes, so you can relate to my story. I went, who else by show of hands went to Alaska? Anybody else been to Alaska cruise? Well, I'm going to give you some information that the three people, you just don't have to listen to this section, but the rest of you, words of advice for an Alaskan cruise. Just a second, I need some nourishment for this one. All right, so I went on this Alaskan cruise, and it was a maiden voyage. Was yours a maiden voyage? Anyone on a cruise been on a maiden voyage? Don't ever do it. Don't. It sounded exciting, but it's not. So I went on the maiden voyage of this ship sailing out of Seattle, beautiful city, Seattle. And it was going from Seattle to Alaska and the different ports we were going to. But this was the maiden voyage. And see, since it's the maiden voyage, they have to test everything out. So they don't want high-paying, that's why it was so cheap, I figured this out. They don't want high-paying, regular cruises going on it because they're going to make a bunch of mistakes, as I learned on this cruise. So what they do is they bring special guest people, because I think, when I got on board this ship, I think they emptied every nursing home in Seattle. And they put them on the ship. There was more walkers and wheelchairs and seeing eye dogs than lifeboats on that ship, Possum. I didn't think the muster drill, you knew about that, right? I don't think the muster drill was ever going to get finished with all the carts and the walkers and, oh my God, I thought if we are sinking, they're all dead anyway. I mean, they can't even get to the side of the ship. And speaking of the side of the ship, I was very concerned about the seeing eye dogs because I thought, where do these dogs go when we're out in the water? Because these seeing eye dogs aren't small dogs. They're not like Paris Hilton's little chihuahua. They can't hold them over the side rail and let them do their thing in the morning. Now, these are big dogs. I felt sorry for the dogs because on this ship, as in most ships, there's a giant atrium. The middle of the ship is all open. And these ships are about 16 decks high. And, you can see all the way down to the lower deck, all the way up to the top of the ship. And it's all open. And they have these glass elevators that go up and down. And you can see everything. It's lovely. But I felt bad because on this particular cruise ship, in the middle of the atrium was a giant tree. Giant tree, but it was suspended in a giant cone on about deck 4. I don't know how they watered the thing, but this tree was humongous. It went all the way up the center of the ship, and we'd be on the glass elevator with the seeing eye dogs, and they'd be going, and they'd get yelled at because the blind person couldn't see the tree. They didn't know what was up with the dog. It was terrible. Went to the buffet. That's all you do on cruises, right? Buffet. Yes, that's all I do. I mean, save the money, possums. Just go spend all night in the Hong Kong buffet and eat 24/7, because that's what happens on the cruise ship, right? You go to the lunch buffet and then you're sitting back in the room. What time is it? It's 2 o'clock. Well, it's almost time for the 3 in the afternoon pre-dinner buffet. Get done the 3 p.m. buffet. What time is it now? 4:30. Oh, it's almost time for the dinner buffet. Then there's the midnight buffet. Eat, eat, eat. So now, because of all those things I told you about, those allergies, gluten and peanut butter, people have to put signs on everything. You have to know what you're eating. God forbid you have an allergic reaction. And I knew that this crew was new, but I didn't realize how new they were and how not adept at the English language they were. Because I was at the lunch buffet, and I was having a Caesar salad. And I'm like, how can you screw up a Caesar salad, right? Romaine lettuce, some cheese, some croutons, a little dressing. But no, this is what happened. True story. So there were these little signs for everything, and it said romaine lettuce. All right, I put some of that on my plate, and then there was croutons, and there was gluten-free, of course, croutons. I took the regular croutons, put them on my plate. Then there was a choice of some black olives or anchovies, none of that mess. And then there was the cheese, and I love cheese. Anyone else love cheese? So good. I dumped that cheese all over the salad, and then I noticed a sign. And it's supposed to be feta cheese. That was the cheese of the day, feta cheese. But no, they misspelled it. They added an L, so it said fetal cheese. Fetal cheese. Took the appetite right out of me, possums, right out of me. I got that little thing, when you think you might be nauseous, and you get that little indigestion thing that burns in your throat, and it's almost like you're going to vomit, but you don't. You know that awful thing? Reflux, yeah. That's what happened to me. Reflux, that sounds like the town Phil came from, is it? Reflux Phil, isn't that what it is? So I saw that little sign that said fetal cheese, took the appetite right out of me. So I didn't know what to do because I couldn't just dump the plate back into the bowls, and I just didn't want to leave it there. But there was a seeing eye dog in front of me. The person had a seeing eye dog. They were in line in front of me. So I thought, well, dogs eat anything. So I put that plate right down there on the floor for the dog. And that dog looked at me, looked down at the plate, a few sniffs, looked up at the signs on the bar, and he looked back at me with an expression that if he could talk, I think he was saying, I'm not the blind one, Dame Edna. Stuck his nose up, walked right away from that place. I met you said you were from Jersey, right? Anyone else from Jersey? Just you. Maybe it was your sister that I met on the cruise. I met a Jerseyite on the cruise. It was the very first day we were leaving Seattle, leaving port, and I was on this cruise with my family. And my family puts the word fun in dysfunctional. So, do many of you have that situation? Is there any family in America that's not dysfunctional? But you've been married 40 years. So all the rest of them have dysfunction, right? Have you been through your share of dysfunction with people? Nah, you're lucky. You're the lucky two in the audience. So you don't get anything for it. I just point out that you're lucky. So yes, I met this Jersey. I avoided my family. I found a little niche when we were leaving port because it's so much fun to leave port, and especially in Seattle, you see Mount Rainier in the background, lovely. And the sun was setting. It was just beautiful. And I found a little niche, a little corner to hide in away from my family, but this Jerseyite found me. And of course, I'm rather distinguishable. I have my purple hair and my spectacles, and she recognized me. And she said, oh, Dame Edna, I'm so glad that I'm a big fan. I had to listen to her rattle on, almost like you. It must be a Jersey thing. And she just kept going on and on. And then she asked me this question, very serious. She said, Dame Edna, do you know how long it'll take to get around the island? And I said, what island? And she said, Alaska. This is a true story, Possum. I said, Alaska is not an island. She said, yes, it is. She was vehement like you. She said, it's an island. Do you think it's an island? I know it's not. Well, thank God. Because she was convinced that Alaska is an island. I said, no, it's not. She said, what's it attached to? I said, Canada. She said, no, I beg to differ. I've seen maps of the United States, and you got the main states right here. Then dangling down here by itself is Hawaii, and dangling up here by itself is Alaska. I said, well, those ignorant American map makers, they just left Canada off the map. I suggest during this administration you put it back right away so you can find it. She was convinced. She didn't believe me. She walked away believing that Alaska was an island. But I got her back, Possums. I got her back. We were in Juneau. That was the first stop. And most people, you go on these excursions, whether it's Bermuda or Caribbean or Alaska, people leave the boat, don't they? Well, I didn't, because I wasn't going with my family anywhere to excursions. To hell with them. I'll stay on the boat and have a little break from my family. But I noticed that when you're in port, that's when they do things. They sneak around, they fix things up, they swab the deck, and they repaint doors and everything, make it look sparkly. And they have little, I don't know what you call them, like little woody things that go down the side of the ship. What are those called? Like on the scaffolding. Yes, thank you. And, they're fixing windows and stuff on the side of the ship. And then I noticed they had a boat. They actually had like a little power boat that came from the cruise ship. And it was filled with divers, scuba divers. And they were going off the back of the ship. And I believe, hopefully, they were checking the under part of the ship, checking the hull, making sure everything was intact. And then I was watching all this with great interest, these divers. And then the Jerseyite found me. Clearly, she didn't go on an excursion. And she came up to me, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you again, David." And started prattling on. And then I decided to get her back when she asked me the next stupidest question. She looked at me, and she was watching the divers with me, and she said, "Dame Edna, I'm very perplexed." I said, "Why?" She said, "Why do the divers dive backwards off the boat?" And I looked at her very seriously, and I said, "Well, Possum, if they dived forward, they'd still be on the boat, wouldn't they?" And she shook her head and she walked away. I mean, she must have been from exit 10 or something. Right? In Jersey, you're not from towns, you're just from exits. What exit are you from? 24. Does it go that high on the turnpike, or are you talking about the Garden State? Oh, 295, the mini 95. 295 for the cheap bastards that can't afford the New Jersey Turnpike. Right? Isn't that what it is? No easy pass for you. Speaking of easy pass, I was talking about the weather. And I have a little deck off the dressing room. It's a lovely day. You're all missing it. Sorry to tell you. You're stuck in here with me. But are you having a good time? All right. Good. Oh, thank you. So I noticed it was very sunny, and I thought about this. I forgot to ask you earlier when I was talking about that crazy man, Hurricane, whatever his name is, Rodriguez. I don't know. What's his name? Schwartz. See, you all know the weathermen better than you know your own president. You got to keep track of the weather. So this is what kills me. Can someone please explain the difference to me between partly sunny and partly cloudy? What is that? What is it? What you know? Eloise, you brilliant. Maybe if I have a drink, I'll get that a little better. Did you hear what she said? She said partly cloudy means it's mostly sunny, and partly sunny means it's mostly cloudy. You heard her on the Weather Channel. Yes, you even get all of your education from a channel that delivers the weather. You have a channel dedicated to the weather? Really? Well, aptly named the Weather Channel, better than like the nudist, channel or something. Seriously, a 24-hour channel for the weather. God help you all. This is what I want to know. It's like texting the person sitting next to you, which some of you do. If you're in your home and the windows are all open and the door's wide open and you can see outside and you can stick your hand out the window and check the temperature, do you still walk to the telly, put it on, and check the Weather Channel? Yes, you do. You use the remote. It's idiots in America. So they had entertainment on this cruise ship. They had all kinds of games, recreational, because obviously we weren't going to the beach. We weren't in the Caribbean or Bermuda. So they had a giant chess set. Anyone see one of those? It was lovely on the deck. You could play chess with moving these giant pieces. Aren't they fun? Then, of course, there's the game that all of you invented, and it's aptly named. It's called Shuffleboard, because that's what you are, playing this game. And that's all you do is shuffle, because you've eaten at 16 buffets before you get outside. This is the game, if no one's seen it. This is exactly what you do. What the hell is with that game? Isn't it the dullest game ever? It's on every cruise ship, isn't it? I wonder how many discs are floating out in the river, out in the ocean. Seriously, shuffleboard, bored to tears. But then they had a very, got a frog in my throat. I have to turn away from the mic because for some reason I sound like a man when I cough. It's shocking, isn't it? So I was so excited because we couldn't go to the beach because we were not in the Caribbean, but I was excited because they had a sandbox, and I went and got cups from the bar, and I went in the sandbox, and I built a little tower. You know how you take the little cups and you wet the sand and you make a little tower, and I made a little moat, and then that's where I learned where the dogs go on the ship. There was a big brown dragon floating around my moat that I didn't put there. That was my stupidity. You'd have thought I was from Jersey playing in that sandbox. Who's your governor? Chris Christie. He's the size of Delaware because he ate all of Orange, New Jersey. He saw that sign, Orange ate the whole damn town, didn't he? Or is it a county? I think he's up to the whole county now. That is one big man, isn't it? He's what? He used to be, did he lose weight? He's trying to slim down to win the presidency. He's got to work on his hair if that's the case. Oh, God help all of you. I can go back to Australia. You can't. I'd invite you all. You're such a lovely group. I'd invite you all to my house, but I can't fit you, and I don't have enough eggs, orange juice, milk, and bread. So the cruise, the highlight of the cruise, of course, is what? What does everyone, because there's 3 of you, I think, that done Alaskan cruise. What does everyone want to see on a cruise in Alaska? Whales, yes. Just go watch the National Geographic 24/7 channel. You see all the whales to your heart's content. But no, everyone on the cruise ship must see a whale when you're in Alaska. It's dangerous because there's about 4,000 people on these ships, and they're all on the top deck waiting for a whale, right? You know of what I speak. Weren't you scared crapless? Because they say there's a whale. Like on the port side, everybody goes running to the side of the ship. You think it's going to flip right over. And then the captain comes on, sorry, not a whale, just a rock. People are like, oh, they look like shuffleboard. Oh. And then all of a sudden the captain comes on, oh, there might be one on the other side. Everybody runs to the other side of the ship. I'm afraid it's going to, this is all true, so be careful on the Alaskan cruise. I thought it was going to fall away the other side. And the captain comes on, sorry, just a seal. Everybody's all, just a seal. Well, what's a seal when you can see a whale? I did get to hang out with my family on the last day. We were going back to Seattle, and it was a lovely day. It was August, so Alaska wasn't too cold, and it was a little warmer than usual. It was about 65 degrees, so all of us hung out on the top deck with the pool. It was a heated pool. It was lovely. I wore my one piece. I don't wear 2 pieces anymore, because when I wear a 2-piece, it looks like I have 18 pieces. So I only wear 1 piece. But I was just there to get a little sun. I wasn't going to go in the pool. Didn't want to do that. I was reading a magazine, and my nieces and nephews, they're about in their 20s, I think, and they were going in the pool, and they were going on the corkscrew slide. I can't talk. Let me have another drink. So, the corkscrew slide. Have you seen these things? It goes around like this, right? You've seen them on the Caribbean. They shoot you out into the pool. I wasn't going to do it. And my nieces and nephews, they said, oh, come on, Auntie Dame. You're so, young at heart. You're so free-spirited. Why don't you go on the slide with us? It's so much fun. So I didn't want to disappoint. I didn't want to feel too old. Would you go on that, Eloise? See, I was like you. I'm spunky like you, Possum. But, you're more gifted than I am because you're a petite little thing, so you have fun on the corkscrew slide. Unlike myself, I went up to the top of the ladder. That was scary enough getting up there. And I noticed they had these jets, they have these water jets that propel you down the thing, keep you going fast. And so here's these water jets. I thought, oh, thank God for this. And I sat down, Possums, and I didn't move. All the water jets were doing was giving me a nice douche. That's all that was going on with those water jets. I wasn't moving, and I was sort of trying to shimmy myself through, off the thing and move, and I wasn't moving. And I was just getting a nice butt cleansing with those, I kept trying to shimmy, and then all of a sudden somebody shouted out, "There's a whale!" And that was the end of my corkscrew sliding. So I told you earlier about, these American syndromes that you get, because I feel bad for America. And in your glory days, you were making all kinds of things, automobiles and metalworks and woodworks. But America, you don't make much anymore. You make some agriculture. You send it overseas. We'll see how that goes. Some wheat and all that. But mostly what you make in America is pharmaceuticals and lawsuits. That's what you do. You invent pharmaceuticals for syndromes that only you Americans have. How many of you, when you went to dinner, what kind of restaurant was it for your Valentine's? American bistro. You went to safe route, but most Americans like to go try some Indian food, Mexican food, which really you should stop eating after the age of 30. Because, your intestinal system changes as you get older. It doesn't quite work the same way it used to. So, you're all eating Mexican food and Indian food, or you're sitting at home watching the 24-hour Weather Channel and devouring an entire, bag of cheese doodles, and you wonder why your stomach's upset. Then you add some ice cream to it. So what happens? You get an upset stomach, you're running to the bathroom, Montezuma's revenge kind of thing. You get concerned because this happens to you, every time you eat all this Mexican food or every time you devour a bag of potato chips, and you go to see your doctor, and your doctor tells you have what? Irritable bowel syndrome. Don't forget the syndrome, because everything in America is a syndrome. You have irritable bowel syndrome. And I'm thinking, well, what happens? What happens if it's every day? What happens if you're eating badly every day and your bowels are totally a mess, and then maybe you have really pissed off bowel syndrome? Or if it's every once in a while, perhaps it's just mildly annoyed bowel syndrome. But when your doctor tells you this, because you use acronyms out the wazoo in the United States, what does he say? You said it. Your doctor says to you, you have IBS. He's telling you right there. He's being just as honest as he can be for a doctor. He's saying IBS. But you get a prescription that costs you $300 for pills that last 10 days. And you buy them because you got to live forever in America. You can't die from irritable bowel syndrome. Now, here's the thing. You can get this pill and cure your irritable bowel syndrome. But then, according to the commercials, you may get tuberculosis, arthritis, you may vomit profusely, or you could die. I'm thinking a little diarrhea, tuberculosis. I don't know. What would you pick? I mean, I'll settle for the bathroom as opposed to tuberculosis. This is the pill that cracks me up, the pill warning in America, and I'm sure you've heard of this, that says, don't take this pill if you can't sit, stand, or walk for half an hour. Have you seen that? What are the other options? Do a jig? I'll take this pill and jig around my house because I can't sit, stand, or walk for half an hour. It's ridiculous. Oh. And then, I just like the old-fashioned remedies, like playing in the park. Remember our parents' old-fashioned remedies they'd give us? I remember my mother, my father would get terrible bronchitis. He was a big smoker. And my mother, she used to rub whiskey on his back. You ever have that cure? A little whiskey on the back for bronchitis. He died anyway because he broke his neck trying to lick it off the back because he was a raging alcoholic. But those old-fashioned remedies were, you like that one. Those old-fashioned remedies were great. And now if you don't die from a syndrome, well, if something happens to you, your loved ones are going to sue somebody anyway because it's not your fault. Everything in America is somebody else's fault. That's why, Possum, you can't come on the stage, because if you fell, you'd sue this theater. And look, they're not filling the seats enough to win a lawsuit, so they don't want to get one. But, you got to sign your life away in America. You got to sign waiver forms and everything because you got to make sure that you're not trapped by your own stupidity. Now, this all started years ago, if you remember, Possums. What was the famous lawsuit that started all the lawsuits rippling after that? McDonald's, the coffee, right. It's embedded in your memory. It's like the national news and the hot coffee. Because a woman, for those of you who don't know the story, a woman went through the McDonald's drive-thru and she ordered a cup of hot coffee and she put it between her legs in her lap. Now, if I went to McDonald's, that's not where I'd put the hot coffee. I might put the Big Mac there. Or a Whopper. But not a Whopper with cheese. Ugh. You got that one, didn't you? So, yeah, she put the hot coffee between her legs, hit a speed bump, and it's not funny what happened to her because she actually did get third-degree burns from the hot coffee spilling on her lap. But then she sued McDonald's and she won because the coffee shouldn't have been that hot. So now what do they put on the cups? Caution, coffee may be hot. Now, here's what I want to know. I like good hot coffee. What, can you sue if it's stone cold? Can you sue for that if it's lukewarm? No. Right, because they tell you it's supposed to be hot, and it's not hot. So now, because of American stupidity, they have to put warning labels on everything. You have to read everything before you use something in the States. And there's actually a contest for this. You can Google search it. Well, somebody mentioned Google searching. You can Google search this contest. It's the worst warning labels in America. So here's one. This is a story. The people that had an RV. You know an RV, those big houses on wheels? And this was the first time they owned a vehicle that had cruise control. Yeah, and the driver, he put the RV on cruise control, left his seat and the steering wheel, and went back into the kitchen to make a sandwich. He thought it was like driving a 747 on autopilot. And they went, of course, off the road. The thing went off the road, crashed. People survived, but they sued the RV company because they didn't know that you couldn't put it on cruise control and leave the seat. So now if you notice on seats, so they say cruise control, do not leave the seat while driving with cruise control. I saw an RV on the way here. It was pulled off to the side of Columbus, right out front. And Delaware, there's a road. And this RV was pulled off to the side of the road, and I thought perhaps they had broken down or something. But then I saw that it was actually, they had stopped the RV because they were walking their dog. They were walking their dog on the little side of the road there. And then I had a funny visual. I was thinking just like the idiots that put it on cruise control. Is there any time where they're driving for a long period of time and Fido has to go and he's scratching at the door and Mom forgets that they're, on 95 and opens the door to let Fido out? Where's Fido? Back at exit 16. Oh, crap. Who let him out? Here's some of the winners of the warning label contest. On a thermometer, on a glass thermometer, and I don't even think they made these things anymore. Now, if you're going to have your temperature taken, you just get a credit card, reader swiped across your head. If you're in the hospital, right? Take your temperature. But no, on a glass thermometer, which is hard to read to begin with. Remember when our parents took our temperature? They'd have to take it about 17 times, because every time they took it out of your mouth and they're trying to spin it, turn it, to try to find the number that the mercury was at, it went down again. They just shove it back in you. On a glass thermometer, if used rectally, do not use orally. I thought there's lots of things I can place that warning label on. Oh, Cash just thought about it. It's the afternoon, you're getting a little sleepy, the brain doesn't quite click in, but now you got it, Cash. It's all right. Alaska is not an island. You know that. So, on a loofah brush. No, I got it backwards. On a toilet brush. But then I'll talk about the loofah brush in a second. On a toilet brush, not for personal hygiene. Right, exactly. So I'm thinking, is the opposite on a loofah brush, not for the toilet? I mean, because you could use a loofah brush on a stick to clean the toilet, couldn't you? But these things are put on there. You know why? Just like McDonald's. Because people do this stupid thing and then sue the company, and they have to put a warning label on it. On a knife, on the handle of a knife. Who has time to read this crap? But on the handle of a knife, it said, never try to catch a falling knife. Was somebody cutting a cucumber or something? And oh, I guess I shouldn't have tried to catch that. You called a lawyer. On a baby stroller. Have you seen these baby strollers that fold up and go in the trunk? Yeah. On the baby stroller. Remove baby before folding. Some twits were at Great Adventure getting ready to put it in the trunk, and they're like, where's Mikey? Oh, crap, we're crushing his head. Who forgot to take the baby out of the stroller? Seriously, what's wrong with you people? That you have these warning labels on an iron-on decal. Have you seen those? You get like a decal and you can iron it onto your shirt. Yeah, on the decal, it said, remove shirt before ironing on. It's true. Some twit had their t-shirt on. Here's the iron. They're laying the decal out over their chest. They're, Shah! You love to put things on your chest. You love to put things that nobody else cares about but you all over. On your shirts. You got little sayings on your shirts. On your bumper stickers. You know, you got those bumper stickers that say, my student is an honor student at such and such school. Who gives a rat's ass except for you? You're just pissing off the people whose kids are flunkouts behind you. They're going to get some road rage on your ass because you're boasting about your little high school twit. Right? Don't you hate those cars? This is another thing I've seen on American cars I don't understand. I had to ask somebody about it because I was confused. I see these things on the back glass where it says, in memory of. And there's a name and a birth date and an end date. It's like a headstone. I thought, my God, they've run out of space in America. They're putting dead bodies in the trunks now. And somebody said, no, David, no, that's not what happened. What happened was somebody in the family died, the person that they're honoring, and they left money, and the person bought a car with the money from the dead person. So have anyone seen this? Yeah, and they honor the dead person on the back glass for, dying and giving them this car. And I thought, well, thank God we don't have that custom in Australia, because when my mom died, I had a little bit of augmentation done, not much. She didn't leave me much, but I had a little augmentation. But can you imagine if I had, stamped across my bosom in memory of my mother? A man would never want to go there. Or was a t-shirt I saw, was a lovely t-shirt, said, Jesus is my homeboy on the t-shirt. Jesus is my homeboy. I thought, I wonder what the rest of that t-shirt line is like. Is there a t-shirt that says, God is my smack daddy? The wise men bring me bling bling. Well, perhaps the most controversial of all, Mary Magdalene is my biatch. I saw another sticker on a car. It said, these are all true. Another sticker on a car. It said, caution, fat people are harder to kidnap. And I thought, well, I'm glad I learned that. I had planned to kidnap a fat person today. Perhaps I should rethink my plans for the day. I'll just kidnap a skinny person instead. Speaking of skinny people, is there a label that says, caution, skinny people are hard to find in the woods? But because I do this bit about lawsuits and craziness that happens in America, my fans across the country, and so you can feel free to do so as well, my fans across the country, they always send me lovely stories. And they're true. And I have to show you that it's true when I show you this newsprint because people don't believe me. So fans, I've told my various lawsuit stories for many times and warning labels. So they'll send me things. So if you see anything crazy in the news, feel free to grab my card and send it to my website or email address. So this you can see, right? This is newsprint, right? You can see that I cut out? Yeah, I just want to prove to you it's a true story because you're not going to believe it. So here's the story. The title is Malfunctioning Implant. That's a good start. In a Rhode Island, another little small state you have here on the East Coast, in a Rhode Island court ruling, a former handyman. Now the fact that his working title is handyman is quite funny when you see where this is going, as opposed to being a farmer or an accountant. So this former handyman won more than $4 million in a lawsuit over a penile implant that gave him a 10-year erection. erection. Viagra, you're supposed to go to the doctor after 4 hours. What was he thinking? Like, why didn't he go to the doctor? I mean, wouldn't you go to the doctor? I mean, if you couldn't get it down in 10 years, 10 years. Jesus, his wife must have been in pain. Okay, his name is Charles Chick. That's his, in quotes, it's his little nickname, Chick. Charles Chick Lennon. I wish for this story his name was Richard, because that would make it even funnier. You had to think about that one too. So Charles Chick Lennon was 68. So from 58 to 68, 10 years. He received the steel and plastic implant in 2006. Exactly. Steel and plastic. You have a perplexed look on your face like I had when I first read this. Because I thought, what part is steel and what part is plastic? I mean, is the upper part, is the scroll like Wee Willie Winkie? Is the scroll made out of plastic? And is it the low-hanging fruit that's the steel? Because that would be fun, ladies, wouldn't it? If we were bored to tears during sex, we could just knock those things around like the steel balls on a desk. Like those little things that are... Aren't you having fun? I'm having fun now. Keep going with your 10-year erection self. Steel and plastic. I know, isn't it amazing? It's hell. The Dora 2. It has a name, possums. It has a name. The Dora 2. I'm thinking, what happened to the Dora 1? Clearly, they've not perfected it, and they need to work on the Dora 3. The Dora 2. The Dora 2 is designed to allow men to position the penis upward for sex, then lower it. And pardon the pun, but is it like an erector set? Does it have a... Right. See, in the front row, she's 5 seconds ahead of me. It's a little crank. Is it like... And maybe like the... was stuck. It couldn't go in the opposite direction, so the thing stayed up for 10 years. Perhaps you mentioned this. Perhaps, though, it was a remote control device. And perhaps the remote was broken. Ladies, wouldn't that be fun if we had a remote for it? Wouldn't it be great if we had a remote for the little wee winky scroll thing, And husband climbs into bed all ready to go, and you go, nope. Mute. Had a little up and down control. Nope. Or if he didn't want to and you did, and you're like, that would be fun. You're all thinking about it, aren't you? Finally, women would have control of the remote. Wouldn't that be lovely for all of us? Yeah, so anyway, I'll finish this little story. So he could not position his penis downward. He said he could no longer hug people. I mean, think about it. So good to see you. What's wrong? Oh, my back's killing me, my back. He doesn't want to admit he has a 10-year erection. He couldn't ride a bike. Now, I didn't understand this because I know male anatomy, and I don't know why that thing would get in the way of riding a bike. Unless he had one of those old-fashioned gear shifts and, right there on the mainframe, and he grabbed the wrong shift or the wrong gear, and that could be painful. I'm not making up things. This is all, I'll let you read it. It's all right here. Oh, he was making up things. Yes, he was making... wait till you hear this one. He said he couldn't swim. And I thought, why not? He should be like Michael Phelps in the water. He's got his own dorsal fin going on like a dolphin. He's cutting through that water seriously, like Michael Phelps. Whoosh, cuts right through the water. Unless, of course, possums, he can only do the backstroke. Because then that would be dangerous. I mean, think about it. He's backstroking away with his 10-year erection, and here come the seagulls going, lunch! And he couldn't wear bathing trunks. How the hell could he wear anything? I mean, why bathing trunks? He shouldn't be able to wear pajamas. I mean, the only thing this man needs is Spanx. I mean, that's what he needs. Right? So he sued for pain and embarrassment. And he won $4 million. Yeah. Thank God it wasn't a hung jury. Thank you for that applause in that one, possums. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, I'll just give you a word. I like to give people words of warning on my show. So the cheap the cheap bastards that brought me in here, they didn't want to fly me into Philadelphia. I was performing in Vegas. Anyone been to Vegas? Lovely city. I was performing in Vegas. I was staying at Treasure Island. Have anyone stayed there? Treasure Island's got a pirate theme. I think I drank too much the last night I was there because I was at the bar, as always. And this person, I guess actor for the Treasure Island show or something, he walked up to me and he was wearing a pirate's outfit. And he had the little parrot on his shoulder and the bandana. But then he had this ship steering wheel hanging on his crotch, on his belt. Isn't that odd? So I got up the nervous steel to ask him. I said, like the steel and plastic implant. I said, what is with the steering wheel on your outfit there? And he looked at me all serious with his little pirate voice and he said, "Arg, it's driving me nuts." Oh, hiss away. You'll tell it as soon as you get home. I see you all nodding your heads. So they flew me, not to Philadelphia, but into a little airport called, well, I thought it was big by its name, BWI. They said it was cheaper. Baltimore Washington Airport. No, it stands for Begin Weariness Immediately. Because I had no idea these two major cities in your East Coast were separated by one big-ass parking lot. Have you seen that airport? Yes, it's awful. They had a rental car for me in a parking lot. Took me a whole day to find the damn thing. So many parking lots. My flying is actually pretty good because I'll give you a little lesson. Because, back, 15, 16 years ago, it was a tragic day, 9/11 for America. And then ever since then, though, you have all the security in place, right, with the airplanes, all these things. And you've had this for at least 15 years. You'd think you learned by now how to dress for the airport. But no. I always get stuck behind you Americans who insist on wearing as much clothing as possible that you have to take off before you go through the little thing. You've got your watches and your bling, and people have got combat boots. They've got to unlace them and take them off, and 16 belts they've got to take off. And do they do it while you wait in line for 2 hours? They've got 2 hours to strip before they get to the little thing. But they do it then? No, you all wait till the very last minute, don't you? Have you been stuck in this situation? It's ridiculous. And then here's what you do, possums. Here's my advice, because they can't throw you out of the airport. It's fashion, it's style. You just act like it's breakfast during the snowstorm. I go to the airport in my robe and slippers. I walk right up, whoosh, whoosh, and right through I go. Try it. But one thing I did like about BWI is in most of American places, because you're very sensitive, and this is not an insult, it's a great thing, it doesn't happen all over the world. You're very sensitive to people with special needs. And, that's why you have these handicapped or disabled stalls in most of your public restrooms. And I live for those stalls, and I'll tell you why. Women can relate. Men, I'm gonna out something to women that we don't usually talk about. So, men, do you wonder why us women go to the restroom in groups? Do you ever wonder why? When we're out together and with men, that we often don't go alone. Men go alone, right? Well, here's why, possums. Because men, they've got a 50-50 chance of not having to sit down. Us women, we have to sit down. And in a public restroom, we like to use what's called the toilet seat protector. And if they don't have that paper, then you use some tissue paper. But here's the challenge, men. Because, see, we have to disrobe. And we have to think, it's like aerodynamics and physics. We have to think about placing the toilet protector down, or the toilet paper, right? And disrobing to use the restroom. Because if we put the toilet paper or the seat protector down first, and we disrobe too quickly, then swoosh, it goes in the water, right, Eloise? And then what good is it? You got to get another one. And, and those disinfectants you use only kill 99.9% of germs in America. There's still always, for whatever reason, they haven't perfected the 100% disinfectant. There's always 0.1 running around that little restroom. So women go together so we can hold this toilet seat protector for each other. Because, we say, hold it, Jane, hold it. I'm coming down now, I'm coming down. Hold the paper in place. We have to work together. We must work together. So that's why we must love the handicap stall, even if we're not handicapped, because the handicap stall is huge. I mean, it's like a horse stall. They even have a bar in the thing. You can tie the horse to if you had one. And I love the handicap stall. I came rushing off the plane because I won't go on the plane Because I have this phobia. I do have one phobia. I don't know if anyone else has it, but I'm so afraid if I use the restroom on the plane, I'm going to get sucked out, that I'm going to accidentally hit that little blue button and whoosh, I'm going to be all over the Atlantic or something. It's a phobia I have, so I have to wait, and it's a long flight from Vegas to BWI, so I went rushing to find the handicap stall, and, of course we have to put our purse down, can't put it on the floor with the 99.9% of all household germs dead. So I put my purse in the sink, and I put down my toilet seat protector, and you can put it down, see, on this side of the stall, and then I could run all the way to the other side of the stall and disrobe, and you avoid the updraft, you avoid the aerodynamics. And so I did my thing, and then Possums. The worst thing happened, because, you Americans and all your inventions, I had no idea that the sink had one of those evil red-eye automatic faucet things on it. Purse filled with water, Possums, purse filled with water. So advice, find a hook. That's my advice. And on that lovely piece of advice, I'm going to say goodbye. Good night, Possums.